who is recruiting like a program, as we say on this show. Not saying program, program. If you're recruiting like a program, you are on fire on the trail. And who's more on fire? Who's done a better job on the trail in 2025 than Ohio State? They got 16 commits in the class of 2025. They got 3 5-stars. They have the best corner combo in 25 between Naeem Offord, number 1 corner, and number 3 corner in the class. Currently, Devin Sanchez, the other corner as well. 4 commitments this month. So they're not slowing down anytime soon in Columbus. Almost a third of their guys they have committed in this class are from Columbus, or not from Columbus, excuse me, are from Ohio, so probably not that far from Columbus. The reason why that's important to me is because I think with this game against Michigan that defines you at Ohio State, I think growing up around it, I think knowing what it's about, I think being able to see as you grow up and have that being a consistent part of your life, I think that matters when you get out on the field and not walking into it knowing it's a big rivalry but not really knowing what it's about. I think that helps, quite frankly, for Ryan Day and company. Nothing really that new here for Ohio State. They've recruited well previously. They're going to keep recruiting well. Can't go broke getting paid. Cannot go broke getting paid, and Ohio State on the recruiting trail is doing the equivalent of getting paid from where I'm standing in terms of the top talent they're acquiring. Now, Texas, they're on the outside looking in with the top 10 right now. They got a commitment from Caleb Chester this month, one of the high-profile recruits for them for this new class, but they're going to start to make some more moves, I believe, here as we get into the season and start pushing closer to signing day. They're in a good spot right now for the top receiver in America, DeCorian Moore. The RPM is leaning heavy towards Texas. That'd be massive for Steve Sarkisian. The reason why I have him on this list, though, is just yesterday, they landed one of the top quarterbacks, not in 25, but in the class of 2026. Now, if that last name sounds familiar, former Phoenix Sun, Raja Bell, this is his kid. Feel old yet? I do. Here's my thing, man. Like, if you have a quarterback, you have a chance, and we've established many times on this show. So having the quarterback, as we move into the future of college football and the expanded playoff, that position is only going to become more and more important to have a guy who can make a difference for you in a expanded playoff game where you're on the road in a playoff game and you're in a hostile environment, or you're playing in a situation where you have to ask your quarterback to go make a play for you on 4th and 2 to get you to the next round. Like, the importance of the quarterback position is only going to grow. And here's my thing with Texas that would encourage me if I'm a fan. Chefs in Rome, they specialize in pizza, right? Eskimos in Alaska specialize in ice. Steve Sarkisian specializes in quarterbacks. Look at his resume. Look at who he's worked with. Landing his guy for the future in Diabell is massive for Texas. Again, I think they're going to continue to press on and probably move up those rankings as we get further and further into this recruiting cycle in 25. Now, Michigan, sitting at number 13, but they've made some moves this month. They've gotten 3 commitments of their 8 in the month of June. Sharon Moore now, as the new head coach out there in Ann Arbor, the thing with him is he recruits. He recruits, man. Like, say what you want about old Michigan under Jim Harbaugh. They would be a little bit more developmental leaning than being able to be that school on signing day that was like somewhere in the top 10. Not that they didn't have top 10 classes, but that wasn't really their MO. Sharon Moore, one of the things we heard about him when he took this job was, hey, he's going to lean on the talent acquisition side of things for Michigan. He's going to make that a priority. So Sharon Moore making moves. We'll see where they are on signing day. But what if Sharon Moore and the recruiting juice he has right now, you can then pair with the apparatus where you develop players at Michigan like Jim Harbaugh did, which will be a task. Don't get it twisted. It'll be a big ask. If they do that, who's stopping Michigan? If they get top talent and develop top talent, that's what Georgia's done. That's why Georgia's winning national championships. So Michigan, it's still early on. Made some moves this month. They're recruiting like a program, but keep an eye on Michigan and where they land here as we get further and further into this cycle. Now, Auburn's at number 8 right now at the time of us being live in the 2025 On3 industry team recruiting rankings. 4 commitments in June right now, so they're cooking. I think they're in striking distance from where they would like to be. I believe being a top 5 class is what I think Hugh Freeze would like to accomplish. Landed a top 10 class with 6 wins. If they put proof of concept on the field, I think that's the last missing ingredient to really cause Auburn to explode and be a national title contender in the future. I really believe that because they have everything else. Got a fun scheme to play in offensively. You got a coach with a proven track record. You have a great brand in the SEC. You got great resources and a staff and administration all pulling in the same direction. If you just put winning into that, what else do you need? I mean, what else are you looking for if you're a top recruit in America to go and play in front of or to go play in? Julian Lewis, big-time quarterback in the class of 2025, five-star cat, currently committed to USC, was most recently on a visit to Auburn this past weekend. We'll see where things stand there as we get closer and closer to signing day. Auburn feels good about where they stand with him, but again, he's committed to USC. It's not over till it's over, but he's committed to USC. But I'll just say that recruitment rather is still ongoing. And from what it sounds like, they feel good about how that visit went. Georgia, death taxes in Georgia having a top 3 class on signing day. Nothing massive here. I mean, they're currently a number 3 class right now in the class of 2025, or in the 2025 rankings rather. 4 commitments in the month of June alone. They have 9 commitments in the state of Georgia. Now, that sounds like an obvious statement because they are the team in the state and they should be able to lock down the state. But if you lock down the state of Georgia, I think that's one of the most underrated talents, or underrated states rather, when it comes to high school talent, because they don't get the same buzz maybe as the big schools in California do, or the branding of Texas or Florida. Like 23 players in last year's draft got drafted that played high school football in the state of Georgia. That was 3rd most in the U.S. So there's talent in the state, and if you lock it down, you're going to have great results on the field. Kirby Smart, doing what Kirby Smart does, recruiting at a high level. 2 more schools to touch on here really quickly. Alabama, recruiting like a program, 6 commitments in the month of June. They have had 5 commitments since flipping Keelan Russell from SMU. Now, if you're just parachuting into this, Keelan Russell, one of the top quarterbacks in this cycle, was committed to SMU. Kalen DeBoer gets the spatula out, flips him to Alabama. Other players are seeing that. If you're looking at, the trend of this whole thing, you're like, okay, people probably want to play with Keelan Russell. That probably helps the recruiting efforts. They got 2 of those commitments of the last 5 on the offensive line. So trenches football is an emphasis here in Tuscaloosa, as we can tell. Kalen DeBoer now, he is doing what I wasn't sure he'd be able to do. And I don't know that we have the book out on him just yet as a recruiter, but if you're looking at the early returns, he is recruiting at a high level. That's why Alabama has been Alabama. Yes, because Nick Saban is the GOAT and because of the processes they had in place, of course. But Alabama won at a high level for a long time, in large part because of the talent they had on that roster, in large part because of how they recruited. So if Kalen DeBoer can keep trending this direction and push Alabama into the top 5, they're at number 6 right now, I believe, in the On3 industry team recruiting rankings. That would be massive, and I think that would be enough juice in the recruiting trail to keep those expectations where they are in Tuscaloosa in terms of competing for national title kind of hardware. Wisconsin. Talk about Wisconsin enough on this show, man. Wisconsin is a top 20 class right now in 2025. They have got 8 commitments so far in the month of June, most recently landing Eugene Hilton, wide receiver. That name sounds familiar because T.Y. Hilton's his dad. Luke Fickell develops, man. Like, say what you want about the guys he did or didn't recruit at Cincinnati. When they got on campus there, but by the time they left campus there, they were better football players. And went and got NFL draft picks from Cincinnati, a G5 school at that point in time. Luke Fickell's going to develop. So with him having a top 20 class, I'm just saying I think that's all he needs. Do you want to be top 15, top 10? Sure. But you give them a top 20 class, they're going to find ways to compete with the big boys. I think they are going to be a similar blueprint to what Michigan was in terms of we'll take good talent and we'll develop and make them great players. I think that's what Wisconsin wants to do. Worth noting, too, Wisconsin in this class currently has 3 wide receivers and 1 tight end committed. When was the last time we were talking about Wisconsin being elite at developing, or rather acquiring pass catchers? That Phil Longo effect, the air raid offense now at Wisconsin, it's no longer 3-4 tight ends out there. It is like, hey, we're going to throw the ball around now. So if you want to catch the football, come play at Wisconsin. So that's a lot of schools there. Ohio State, Michigan, Texas, Auburn, Alabama, Georgia, Wisconsin. In my eyes, it's still early now. All of those schools recruiting like a program. We'll see how they trend as we get closer and closer to National Signing Day. Hey y'all, thanks so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel here to make sure you don't miss an episode of The Hard Count. Also be sure to check out other videos on the On3 YouTube channel.